We
are
We are
cultivate.
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 Cultivate. We are Cultivate.
Hello and welcome to Ye Olde Crime, where we discuss the funny, strange, and obscure crimes of yesteryear. I'm your host, Lindsay Valenti, and with me is my sister and co-host, Maddie Stengel.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
It is going.
It is. I feel it in my bones.
I won't go into it any much more than that. But we are continuing Spooky October, and I'm excited about this one because we haven't done anything like this in a long, long time. So
Okay.
today we will be discussing La Patasola.
Okay.
So information was pulled from the following sources: a 2022 J.A. Hernandez post, 2020 Atlas Obscura article by Dan O'Sullivan, 2020 Random Times article by Danilo G., 2019 Ancient Pages post by A. Sutherland, 2018 Ancient Origins article by Ashley Cowie, 2017 Under the Influence blog post, and it's like a novella booklet called La Patasola, and I'm hoping this is a translation thing. The Transformation of a Woman Victim of the Cholera of Love.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And then the Demonic Paradise Wiki, Villains Fandom Wiki, and regular Wikipedia.
I like that you switched up your wikis. You diversified your wikis.
That is thanks to Carrie Ann for her research assistance for this episode.
She's the best.
And links to all of these articles will be included in the show notes. We wouldn't be here without support from listeners like you. If you're interested in supporting us financially, you can leave a one-time or monthly donation over on Buy Me a Coffee or our Venmo page. Links are in the show notes. And we make a point of reaching out to send you a thank you note and stickers to show our appreciation.
Want to show your support in a more concrete way? Pick up some Ye Olde Crime merch over at our TeePublic shop. We shout out whenever there is a sale each month, and we work to make sure we're creating new designs and changing it up whenever possible. And hey, thanks for listening.
Patasola, or La Patasola, translates to 1 foot.
Oh, cute.
This female demon is common in folklore in South American countries, such as Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela.
Okay.
La Patasola embodies the features of a sort of hybrid of like a succubus and a vampire.
With 1 foot.
And is just one of many female monsters that make up the folklore of South America.
She's like a demonic flamingo. A demonic sexy flamingo.
Yes, a sexy demonic flamingo.
Yeah.
Although pale, not pink. We'll just say that.
Right. Could have warm coloring, though. You never know. Undertones.
Maybe she uses some blush. Often appearing before men hunting in the vast forests of the region, her origin story, like so many others in folklore, varies.
Yes.
However, the common thread is that she is a scorned, unfaithful woman, someone that would be characterized in modern culture as quote-unquote bad or a quote-unquote femme fatale.
Okay. I don't always equate femme fatales as bad. And I do find it interesting that she's evil because she was scorned. But it's like, where's the demon that pissed her off, though? Like, what did he do?
Yeah, she's bad for being vengeful, I guess, is.
So she's a moral story cryptid.
Yes. Now, many believe that prior to becoming a demon, she was a mother who murdered her own son, which was a crime for which she was banished into the forest as punishment for, it wasn't really infanticide, but like, I don't know how old the son was, but punishment for murdering her child.
Just the fact that it was banishment and not death makes it seem like maybe the death was warranted. If they just didn't do an eye for an eye right away, I don't know.
Perhaps. Another belief is that she was a vile temptress who cruelly tricked both men and women alike, and it was for these crimes that she found herself mutilated when one of her legs was ruthlessly chopped off with an axe and thrown into a fire. And in this
Wow.
version, she succumbed to her injuries and was reborn as a specter that haunts the forests and mountain ranges of Colombia.
Yeah, I would come back too. If somebody ripped my leg off and threw it in in a fire, I would absolutely come back and do just the worst things I could think of spectrally. Yeah, good on you. I would do the same.
This next version is very long, so I'm assuming that this is the most popular version
Okay.
because this one came up quite a bit in my research. And like I said, this is the most verbose of the ones that I saw.
Okay.
So in this version of her origin story, she's a cunning and manipulative wife who was caught cheating on her husband with her husband's boss.
Not great. In any country or century, not great.
Yeah, not a good look. In this version, she was a beautiful woman named Maria. She was envied by women for her beauty and desired by men for the same reason. Maria chose to marry a hardworking man named Henri.
Hmm.
Henri's boss, a man named Horatio, although married, desired Maria for himself
Of
because
course.
his wife was kind of dour.
Hmm.
And in the Cholera of Love book, which was,
Mhm.
again, very loosely translated, I think,
Yes.
he was sterile, but he didn't want to admit that he was the one that was sterile. And so, like, she couldn't give him
Mm.
children, and that was a thing. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Horatio couldn't stop himself from flirting with Henri's wife, finding excuses to visit her, bringing gifts for
Mm.
her and her two children, Daniel and Sarah.
So she also had other things he wanted. Children.
Mhm. Henri simply thought his boss was a giving and kind man. He didn't suspect that
Not
he had ulterior
true.
motives. In this cautionary tale, he is kind of, I don't want to say a simpleton, but he is very much like
Bumbling.
sees the best in everything and doesn't
Mm.
really catch on to like context clues. We'll just say that.
Great. Awesome.
And it wasn't long before Maria started to return Horatio's advances, finding him more attractive than her husband, and the pair soon fell in love. And the couple were caught by accident when a villager saw Maria and Horatio in a passionate embrace.
Uh-oh.
This villager warned the pair to not indulge in infidelity, but despite her warnings, they couldn't stay away from each other. Maria began
Mm.
wearing tight clothing and makeup and would passionately kiss Horatio every time they saw each other.
Just like didn't care at all.
So it wasn't long before the vice of vanity overtook her completely.
Mhm.
Like morphed into this seductress, or however you want
Mhm.
to characterize her.
She became the demon by not capping her desires.
Yes. And
Got
at
it.
first, her poor husband was oblivious to what his boss
Oh,
and wife were up to.
poor husband.
However, when she started to change how she dressed and the care she put into her appearance, he began to
Mhm.
suspect that she was hiding something from him. And when he asked her about Horatio, she would deny that there was anything going on between them, although Henri noted that she would blush while lying to him, specifically when she was talking about
So he
Horatio.
caught on to that, but he didn't catch on to any of the other super obvious.
He's working all the time.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that the
He's
dopey man is the hero of the
Yes,
story.
he's the
Sorry.
sole breadwinner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not long after this, Henri was working at Horatio's estate, and due to his diligent work, Horatio's wife Miriam released him early. She was like, "You've been working super hard. Go spend time with your wife."
Go have some fun, you know? Feels like today's a good day to do it. A good really good feeling in my gut.
And in this, I didn't get any indication that Miriam, so Horatio's wife, was aware of what was going on. I'm sure she had her suspicions, but not necessarily that he was cheating on her with Henri's wife.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
feel like her doing this is malicious in any sense of the word.
Oh, no, no, no. No, I don't think so either. She probably was genuinely like, you did a great job. Go home and relax.
Yeah, because she was the only one there that day, and she's like, you know what, you've been working really hard. Go home early.
Yeah.
So, excited to surprise Maria, Henri stopped to pick up flowers on the way back home. However, upon entering the home, he heard strange noises coming from the bedroom.
What?
I know, right? Only to discover that his wife and employer were in the throes of passion, aka
Gross.
boning. Stunned, Henri watched in horror before grabbing a knife. Finally spotting her husband, before Maria could begin begging for forgiveness, Henri stabbed his employer to death.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Maria ran to escape her fate, but stumbled as she reached the stairs, causing her to tumble down them. As her enraged husband approached, she continued to beg for forgiveness, and instead of killing her, he took the knife and severed one of her legs. He then left their home, intent on finding their children so he could kill them as well.
Great, because why not just annihilate the whole family?
Yeah, he's like gone at this point.
Yeah.
When he picked them up from school, he told them that their mother was sick.
Oh, no.
When he brought them home, he poisoned them and brought them in front of their mother so she could watch them painfully die.
Holy smokes. So this bumbling fool isn't super bumbling or foolish.
No.
He's just as frightening as everybody else in the story.
Yes. And just when Maria thought the worst was over, Henri then grabbed his gun, pointing it at his head, before saying, quote, "You were the most beautiful lie in my life," end quote, before he pulled the trigger and ended his life.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably become a vengeful spirit too
Mm-hmm.
after all of this. Just out of, like, probably shock.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to think, losing a leg, she definitely died too. Just probably slower.
Mm-hmm. Depending on where he severed it, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not done yet. So weeks passed before anyone thought to check on the family. And by that time, Maria was gone, having survived by feasting on the blood of her family, turning her completely into a demon. Because, blood magic.
Yeah.
The transformation caused her to forget her humanity, so her name, her family, until all she knew was revenge.
Yeah, that checks out.
Now, this version of the tale is believed to have originated in the Tolima region of Colombia near Ibagué City. And folklore like this isn't usually traced back to a specific area, so it is likely that the legend is based in some part on real events that took place somewhere in Tolima.
I bet it was just like a big scandalous news story that was telephoned into becoming a legend.
La Patasola is believed to now roam the dense forests and mountain ranges, lurking at the edges of these places, where she lures men deep into the woods to kill them. And if they are in a group, she will choose one victim and do what she can to separate him from the rest. The most common way she does this that I read was by screaming for help.
So she gets the most innocent, good thinking one.
Before luring him to a remote place where she can transform to her true self, drink his blood, and then eat his raw flesh.
So she's now graduated to eating raw flesh on top of just the blood.
Yes.
All right.
But she likes to bleed them first. So it's like vampire and then weird demon thing. Now, according to Bogota native Inez Elvira Ortiz, quote, "The single-footed woman was beautiful and she cheated on her husband, so he cut her leg off. She escaped into the jungle and swore revenge against all men. She appears in the nighttime, singing with a celestial timbre that captivates men, old and young alike. Sometimes she screams for help, so they come to save her. That's when she traps them. She sucks out their blood, and then she heads back into the jungle to hide, end quote.
Mm.
Now, in Latin America, the myths and legends in their culture are often viewed as cautionary or morality tales.
Yeah.
And the story of La Patasola serves to reinforce traditional gender stereotypes and sensuality. In Colombia, stories like La Patasola are used to prevent people, particularly those of the lower class, from taking part in deviant behaviors.
Gotta be mindful of those.
Yep. So the concepts of quote unquote appropriate sexual behavior, such as a nuclear family with a strong patriarch and an obedient and well-mannered wife, comes from the belief in an ordered society that holds traditional family values.
Right. Which are still mostly upheld even today.
And the idea of La Patasola is meant to serve as a warning to men, to prevent them from seeking carnal trysts in the secret of the woods, lest they suffer a truly heinous death at her hands.
I think it's funny that it's supposed to be a lesson for men when kind of up to this point, the blame is mostly on women and the lesson for women to be put in their place, but the legend is for men.
I know.
It's like, don't do it, otherwise you'll start this chain reaction where you ruin everything around you.
Yes. And kind of as I mentioned, La Patasola embodies one of the oldest known archetypes, which is that of the femme fatale. So the core traits she embodies include that she is sexy, she's manipulative, she's cynical, she's a predator, and above all else, she is viewed as a villain. And the concept of La Patasola teaches what the Quechua people refer to as sumac cauce, which can be roughly translated to living in the correct way, however you want to interpret that.
All right.
Essentially, don't cheat.
Yeah.
Don't be a philanderer.
Or you'll not only ruin your life, but the lives of everyone closest to you.
Yes. La Patasola appears as an enchanting woman that uses her female wiles to lure her male victims into the Andes, where she then transforms into her monstrous form, a one-footed monster with a bovine-like hoof that moves in the same fashion as a normal human or a giant polar bear. So she
kind of lumbers almost.
Yes. And once she's transformed, she will feast on the blood of her victims, much like a vampire, before devouring their corpse like a traditional monster.
Oh yeah. Gotta keep those traditions alive, monsters and all.
And so after undergoing her transformation, in addition to her bovine leg, she is described as having just one breast, long cat-like fangs, a hooked nose, bulging eyes, knife-like fingernails, a mass of long, tangled, matted hair, and giant lips.
So just like really accentuated features.
Yes. So kind of like the grotesque opposite of what she would be portraying her visage as.
Right. Like she's so beautiful, but then her beautiful hair becomes matted. I mean, her luscious lips become too big.
Yep.
And like creepy and yeah.
And I'm sure like her small, beautiful eyes become like over large and,
large and beady and yeah.
Yeah. And despite having just one leg, she can travel swiftly, even through the dense jungles and treacherous mountain terrains.
Well, heck yeah. If she's got a goat leg, a good little goat leg.
And although she often assumes the form of a beautiful woman to lure men to their death, it's also believed that she can take the form of other creatures as well, such as a cow.
Okay.
Or a large black dog.
Interesting. I would follow the dog, but I'm also not the quintessential person she would try to lure.
Some minor things that tie her to, like vampires would be her dislike for the sun. She is also adverse to water, does not like the blue skies of daytime, aka another reason why she doesn't like the sun, and she prefers the darkness of night. I think it's probably easier for her to get around.
Hmm. Maybe easier for her to see too as a monster with giant eyes.
Yes. And another of her gifts or special powers is her gift of song. And legend states that when she is happy, she will climb to the nearest highest point, be that the top of a mountain or the
Mhm.
top of a tree, and she will sing the following song, which I'm going to read because I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. Quote, I'm more than the siren. I live alone in the world, and no one can resist me because I am the Patasola. On the road, at home, on the mountain and the river, in the air and in the clouds, all that exists is mine. End quote. La Patasola is known to disrupt the daily activities of workers near her home, so in the wilds,
Hmm.
such as by creating roadblocks throughout the jungle that limit a worker's shortcuts. So she can do
Yeah.
like landslides and like knock trees down.
Yeah. Rocks, that kind of
Yep.
thing.
Distracting and disorienting hunters. So maybe making like noises and things to kind of
Super dangerous. Yeah.
get them lost. And even messing with hunting dogs to throw them off the scent of the game they are searching for.
Ooh.
In many ways, she embodies a favorite archetype in mythology, that of the trickster, appearing as something pleasing and enticing before quickly transforming to their full nature or their true nature. And kind of along with this, La Patasola is often viewed as a nature spirit despite her
Mm.
demonic nature.
Okay.
And being a nature spirit is part of
Right.
the reason that she targets and attacks humans who enter her domain.
Hmm. And workers that would try to do deforestation, that kind of thing.
Yep. And her domain is like virgin forests, remote jungle
Mhm.
areas, and the mountains. And
Yeah.
although she attacks and devours humans, she does so to protect nature, primarily from kind of, as you were saying,
Hmm.
loggers, hunters, miners, millers, and animal herders.
Yep.
So, kind of in this sense, she is viewed more as a guardian of
Good.
the area that she considers home. La Patasola isn't the only legendary creature from Latin American folklore. She also resembles the La Tonda of the Choco department of Western Colombia, who is a woman that sucks blood from men, much like a vampire.
Oh.
This one is kind of fun. So the La Tonda can also transform, like the La Patasola, but her magic
Mhm.
isn't perfect. No matter what form she takes, she always appears with a wooden leg in the shape of a wooden whisk or a molinillo.
Funny. She just can't get the spell right. That's endearing. I like her now.
Yeah. And even with this handicap, Latonda is very adept at concealing herself and her disability from her prey.
Yeah, I bet she just wears like beautiful dresses or skirts or something.
Yeah. Another creature is the Matlatsiwa, which also goes by the moniker of the White Lady or the Bride. She is
Mm.
a phantasm that appears in the form of a lithe, beautiful woman dressed in white that only appears at night. She
Okay.
uses a combination of her incredible beauty and seductive songs to lure men into the forest, where she scares them half to death.
Nice. She just scares the crap out of him.
Yeah, so like she doesn't suck their blood, but instead scares men off from attempting to conduct any untoward relations in the wooded mountainous areas in where they live.
I appreciate that.
And it's for this reason that she embodies many of the same qualities as La Llorona of Mexico. So very similar.
Okay. Yeah,
But I don't quite know what like her backstory is in comparison to La Llorona.
probably pretty similar.
And finally, there is also La Sayona of Venezuela. And in some stories, she is said to appear in front of men who are working in the forest whenever they are discussing women.
Oh,
So whenever they start
okay.
talking about women, she shows up.
You guys talking shit?
Another shapeshifter, she will appear as either a loved one or a beautiful woman and will lure the men into the woods before assuming her true animal-like form to mangle and or devour them, leaving their corpses behind for their friends to discover them.
She's a little more vicious.
She is.
I don't hate it though.
And that is La Patasola.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think they did a really great job, like kind of cramming in as many life lessons and or tropes as you could in a classic
Into one
tale.
legend. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm curious though when this roughly could have happened just because I feel like for somebody to kill themselves with a gun is still fairly modern, right?
Because bullets weren't really invented until, like, modern bullets weren't really invented until like the 1800s. Because musket balls were a thing, but like,
Yeah, but you wouldn't like kill yourself. Or maybe they did. I don't know.
I would say probably sometime around the 1800s. If
Yeah,
it was with a pistol, if he was using a gun, yeah.
that makes more sense. But yeah, like when you were going through it, kept imagining it in a modern lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept trying to go back of like, okay, what would like a laborer and boss relationship look like back then?
Yep.
So it was kind of fun to just like try to picture it. I don't know. I don't think she's that bad. I kind of like her.
I think she's justified in being vengeful given what happened to her,
Mhm.
regardless of what her origin story is.
I think so too. The fact that the violence didn't stop with her is
Mm-hmm.
also a lesson.
If you love the show, the best way to support us is to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Good Pods, Castbox, Podcast Addict, and or Audible. Links to all of these are in our show notes, or if you're already listening on one of these platforms, you know what to do.
Oh, and while you're at it, shoot us a question you'd like to hear us answer on the pod. We'll give you a special shout out and address your burning questions all at the same time. The weirder, the better. Submit them via link in our show notes or shoot them to us in our DMs.
The Missing Magnolias podcast tells the stories of the missing and murdered.
Ultimately, these kids went into state custody and they never came out.
Together with missing persons expert Dr. Michelle Shawnees, we uncover the real true crime experience.
Every time we do another interview, I'm like, how do we find so many badass women?
We hear from victims who turn their pain into something positive.
We didn't find out till we were 11 or 12 years old that our mom was murdered.
In Times Square, it said Mickey Shunick fought for her life.
And experts who think outside the box to solve cases.
I scour missing persons databases like NamUs to see if they're uploaded to that database.
Subscribe to Missing Magnolias on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts today.
And on that note, this week's podcast plug is the Missing Magnolias podcast. Missing Magnolias, which is hosted by Scarlett Davis, tells the stories of the murdered or missing, but certainly not forgotten. Too often, we sensationalize the offender and undermine the victim. This true crime podcast combats the norm by offering a curation of interviews with victims, criminologists, experts, and truth seekers who begin the dialogue, what is the, quote, real true crime experience, end quote. It is part of the Darkcast network, and we will have a link to their show in the show notes. We love to hear from you, and there's a couple of ways you can reach out to us. You can email us at yeoldecrimepodcast@gmail.com, where you can send us story ideas, share any spooky stories you may have, fun gifts, or even just to say hello.
You can also reach out to us via snail mail. Remember mail? Our mailing address is Ye Olde Crime Podcast, P.O. Box 341, Wyoming, Minnesota 55092. Fun fact, we like to send out thank you cards with fun stickers you can't get at our shop, so it's worth the cost of a stamp.
And this week's listener question comes from one of our listeners in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Her name is Mariam, and she would like to know, if money wasn't an issue, which country would you really want to go and visit?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. If money wasn't an issue. I don't know, I've heard that like Bali is really beautiful. If money wasn't an issue and I was able to comfortably compensate the country I'm in, or like, I don't know, because with places like that too, like I went to Hawaii for a work event once a long time ago, and it was pretty quickly post-COVID, where like they were obviously hit with issues with less tourism, and country was kind of suffering from it, but they were also thriving because they didn't have like kind of the invasive species of tourism
Yeah, that's true.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So like I feel like if I were to go to a country like that, like if I were to visit a really amazing luxury island in like the South Korean area, like the Philippines or Bali or something like that, I'd want to spend a lot of money to put money back into it versus spending money just for my own luxury.
That makes sense.
You know, like I would love to pay a lot of money to go on a rainforest tour and then just like be as minimal as possible, like try not to have an ATV and like walk around and, you know, like minimal footprint, because as much as I would love to experience those, I also don't want to contribute to like the continual damage that tourism can have. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
And so in all of my favorite places, I feel like it's a little more on the curse side than a blessing.
That's fair.
So I'd want to treat it accordingly. You know, because like of course I want to see the Mayan ruins, but I also don't want to step on it and then like hurt it. Like feel like a jerk the rest of my life. Even though like how could you, because it's still standing. I know. Like I don't know.
I get what you mean.
Cautious tourism. That's what I would do. How about you? Where would you go?
I've really always wanted to go to Japan. Kind of like you, I would want to not necessarily just be like, I want to go to Tokyo. I would want to use, you know, like their transit systems and things like that as much as possible to get around, because they have a pretty robust train system. But also, you know, I'd want to see the countrysides. I'd want to visit some of the old shrines and things of that nature, but I'd want to do it in a way that is culturally appropriate. So I'm not.
So you're not the American bumbling through town spending a bunch of money.
I would want to be respectful. I would want to be, you know, I would want to have someone with me to make sure that I'm upholding the traditions appropriately, that I'm not doing anything that's disrespectful. I'd want to do it right while still being able to experience a culture that I know very little about other than, you know, what you see on TV. So.
Right. But a lot of your favorite pop culture comes from there too.
And a lot of really good anime. So.
Yeah, it would be fun to be there and like be a tourist without being a touristy tourist.
Like it'd be fun to see the places that inspire different, or that are noted in different anime that I've seen, or that are mentioned, or that inspired certain things for like Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli and things of that nature. Like there's, you know.
Would you go to the Miyazaki theme park?
Hell yes, I would.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Hell yes. There's also like a place you can go where it's like a hot spring, but it's like green tea.
Yes.
That would be fun. There's so much cool, fun things you could do there. I'm sure I could be there for a year and not experience everything. So.
Yeah, that would be really fun. I love that we both went to that side of the world though. Even like honestly, even like Australia and New Zealand, just because it's it's just on the other side. I want to say hi. What are you guys doing over here? How's it hanging?
Thank you, Mariam, for sending
Yeah.
that question. And thank you for listening to the podcast all the way in the Philippines. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
If you would like to send us your listener questions, you can email them to us. You can slide into our DMs on Instagram. On that note, what's something good you'd like to share?
So I get to do an event for one of my clients it's going to be the beginning of November. And not only do I get to go and stay at a nice hotel the night before, so I'm there ready to go as soon as the event is ready, but they hired my partner so that we can do tech stuff together and like stay at a hotel together for the first time in like forever. We haven't been able to really escape our house together in a long time. So I'm going to treat my second event of the month as like also my date night, I guess. I'm like really excited about it. I'm just really excited at the idea of us being able to do something together because he's going to do tech work and I'm going to help run the event, and I think it'll be really smooth and a fun thing we can do together. Earn a little bit of money, get away from the house for a day. And honestly, I'm really excited to just be back in the cities so close to my favorite sushi places so I can eat sushi again.
There you
Because there
go.
really isn't any sushi where I'm at right now. It
That's
makes me very
fair.
sad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, I don't know how much I would trust a sushi restaurant where I am if it wasn't cooked or vegetable. So
Fair.
location, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It matters in the means of fish.
It does.
How about you?
One good thing is my troop, my youngest daughter's Girl Scout troop, they are earning their bronze award by installing a little free library at one of the parks in town. So yesterday, the city came by and they installed the post for the little free library. In a couple of weeks, we will have the installation ceremony where I will actually adhere the library to the post, and the girls will receive their awards and recognition for doing this project. And we'll put in the books for the library, take some pictures, and then make it live on the Little Free Library directory so that when you look for it, you can find it on their map. That'll be cool.
That is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about adhering in the moment. How are you feeling about it? What do you want to do?
I want them to be there when it's installed.
Yeah, I think that'll really kind of hypothetically and in practice kind of nail it in for them.
Yeah.
Solidify what they did and what they accomplished.
Yeah. Because the library itself is assembled, and we shared pictures of it at the city council when we made the proposal to have it installed. It's just waiting to get installed on the post. So the post will be there for a couple weeks before we have our ceremony. I'll probably have someone that is not me install it just because I want to make sure it's on there properly. Yeah, I'm just excited to have this recognition ceremony thing of the girls' hard work in selling cookies so that they could purchase the library, the fact that they're having it in the community for other kids and adults to enjoy. We have a full set of the Harry Potter series and another easy reader series that we plan to put in the Little Free Library as part of our donation to it.
That's really nice. I can see a bunch of kids actually really going for the Harry Potter books. For a lot of Harry Potter fans, that's quite the sacrifice, donating
an
entire series.
Well, we have 2 sets of the entire book series, and I figured we can donate one of them. So
that's awesome. And it's it's a good start. It kind of showcases them, this is we want books people will want to read in here.
Yep. So I'm excited for that. I think it'll be fun. There's a lot of kids in our neighborhood. There's a lot of people that walk in our neighborhood. So I'm excited to see how people take it. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Want to be social with us? You can see pics from this week's episode, bonus content, and funny memes on X at Ye Olde Crime Pod, or on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube at Ye Olde Crime Podcast.
Speaking of YouTube, we have a special playlist just for our Can You Crack the Cramp Word segments with our guest podcasters to see who can correctly guess the meaning of some obscure Victorian slang terms. If that's your thing, check it out.
And on that note, as always, I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Madison.
And we'll see you next time with another tale
as old as crime.